If you like the video, then please consider supporting Slope's Game Room on Patreon. I have mentioned quite a few times that Sega, just like the vast majority of classic arcade publishers from the 80s, took inspiration to create some of the very best games imaginable. Sometimes it ended up being far more obvious than they probably should have been, with games such as Mushi King taking heavy inspiration from Pokemon, which I've already covered, but as I mentioned last time on the complete history of Fantasy Zone, from time to time, you really need to dig deep to understand where the inspiration of some of gaming's most classic franchises came from. And if you ask me, nobody seems to take inspiration better than Sega. Now that may sound like a bad thing, but like I said in that very video, game companies did it all the time, and heck, they still do to this day. When a popular video game comes out, everyone, including the license holder, tends to try and recreate it, and heck, if you're a fan of that particular genre, then there is no point in complaining. Just bask in the overwhelming wealth of your favourite type of video games coming out left, right and centre. So, whilst the gaming class of the tens trip over themselves with open world games filled to the brim with side quests and forced DLC hat customizations, let's go back to a time when the very best looking games didn't come out into the homes, well, not at first anyway. Oh no. The best games force you to raid your parents' wallet, open the front door into the beautiful sunshine, and quickly go into the darkest, smelliest arcade you can find to play whatever the arcade owner had deemed hot for the time. Again, as I've stated several times over and over again, Nintendo wasn't exactly that good in this arcade arena, and the games that they would normally pump out were not exactly putting them on the map as much as they'd hoped for. Plus, if you want to look at games taking inspiration from others, well, look no further. This was until they decided to give this no-name a chance at creating something new. And well, you know the drill by this point. Shigsy literally changed the game, pun intended. This game, oh boy, this game, well, I think it's safe to say that it's left a rather lasting impression. And although some people probably wish it would just go away, we all know how important this game is. Now, unlike other big time arcade hits like Gradius and Pole Position, this game wasn't exactly easy to take inspiration from subtly. Sure, there was plenty of home console releases that shamelessly had a good go at stealing this concept, with questionable actually scrub that, horrific results. But going back to the arcade, Sega decided that they needed to have a go at the formula too. However, just like they would eventually do with Gradius being one of the main influences to Fantasy Zone, they knew they had to do their very best to make something better. And that's where a little known company as Gremlin comes into play. Oh no, not that Gremlin, this Gremlin. Gremlin were an arcade company founded in 1971 who found success releasing coin-up machines such as Playball, and eventually in 1976 they released their own arcade games such as Blockade. Oh yes, this is where the inspiration for games like this came from. Anyway, after a few more hits, Sega came along and purchased the company to release North American arcade games not only from Sega themselves, but other big name Japanese game companies like the previously mentioned GB from Namco, and more importantly for this episode, Frogger from Konami. Which is why that sexy Sega logo is plastered all over the original arcade unit and plenty of the ports of that original Frogger game. So, Why have I decided to go round the world and back talking about this when all you really want me to do is showcase what Sega's answer to Donkey Kong was? Well, Sega didn't just want to create a game that would become a better version of Donkey Kong, but they also wanted to take inspiration from this smash hit too. And with all that in mind, what do you think happens when an ape and a frog decide to do the ultimate Blood Brothers handshake? Of course, the answer is this. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Congo Bongo, also briefly known as Tip Top, one of Sega's oldest and most forgotten franchises. First released on March the 12th, 1983 as a stand-up arcade cabinet and eventual tabletop variant too. The game was made on the Sega Zaxxon arcade board hardware, which obviously was most known for Zaxxon and Super Zaxxon. And sure, I'm sure I'll do that franchise one day too. The game was highly rumoured to be subcontracted by Japanese electronic company Ikami Tsushinki, who had previously worked with Sega's on games such as Zaxxon, obviously, and far more interestingly Donkey Kong from Nintendo, which is partly why both games share quite a few striking similarities. Overall, well, the game did okay. It wasn't a smash hit like Donkey Kong or Frogger was, that's for sure, and it's not because it was a bad game. In fact, it's actually quite a good game. But the biggest issue with the game is the fact that it's way too close from the game that it took inspiration from, which was still big business for arcade owners. After all, Donkey Kong had sequels, Game & Watch games, and even had ports including edutainment software which was still on the way. In other words, Congo here didn't have a chance against the now household name that was Donkey Kong. However, like I said, the game isn't bad. Congo the prankster ape is seen at the very beginning burning your tent, and it's your job to revenge after 4 levels. The first level, you simply climb this cliff dodging coconuts thrown by Congo himself, dodging monkeys and jumping gaps. You eventually reach the top, and he runs away. In the second level, you jump onto small islands away from scorpions, snakes and over hippos to get to Congo again, who yet again slowly side shuffles away. On the third level, you have a small amount of maneuver room, dodging charging rhinos and a small body of water before you reach Congo, who, yet again, shuffles away to the fourth level, which is obviously the most Frogger-like, jumping on and off of hippos, lily pads and fish to get to Congo, who is sleeping this time, where you can get the prankster back by burning him too. Aren't practical jokes funny? This is where the game loops indefinitely, until you get a kill screen I assume, adding more obstacles every time you do these 4 levels. And yeah, that's it. A simple game, sure, but a game that is actually quite a lot of fun. In all honesty, it took quite a few attempts to master, and if you are running this bad boy via emulation, the best thing to do is simply tilt your keyboard to try and replicate that diagonal control layout. I had an expected average amount of fun with this game. It's cute looking, it had great graphics, they still hold up nicely to this day, and most importantly, every stage gave enough of a gameplay mix to make the whole thing worth my while. However, even with me waving that big blue Sega flag a tad more often than I perhaps should, I still prefer both the games that it's trying to copy. In my opinion, go and check out Congo Bongo, just don't expect to be blown away. Now, the early 80s was a great time for home computer and console gamers, as a lot of the arcade games you come into contact with, even the average ones like this, managed to get their own home computer ports. And boy, did this one get some bloody ports. It's not like nowadays where games argue over the shading of a wall or the differences between 1080i and 1080p. Nope. Back then, when a game like Congo Bongo got released on practically everything imaginable, it did so with far greater differences, leaving gamers of the 80s incredibly confused. Even the bloody advert was confusing.
Say, a funny thing happened when I started to play Congo Bongo. Hey, these nuts are crazy. Who are these guys? Hey, fellas, let's not get carried away. Oh, no. Maybe I'll go for a swim. On second thought, maybe I'll go for a walk. Hey, lady, this is a one-way street. Hey, that's the guy I've been looking for. Congo Bongo from Sega. It lasts a long, long time.
So, what are these ports like? Well, without a doubt, the worst among them is the Atari 2600 and Intellivision ports. Other than that, they range from unplayable to, yeah, alright I suppose. There was also a ZX Spectrum version planned to be released. However, that one never got past the design stage. Surprisingly though, Sega themselves only ever ported this game once to their own home consoles, the Sega SG-1000. And as you can see, the conversion, well, it didn't go too well, did it? It's not the worst, but it's pretty much a different game, and that first level couldn't be more like Donkey Kong if it tried. The second level changes to a top-down perspective and again is vastly different from the arcade. Levels 3 and 4, well, they're gone. They don't exist. Sega's SG-1000 still stands as a collector's piece that I would like to own one day, but at the time, it was going up against the Famicom that did arcade ports that looked like this. I think it's pretty easy to see why Nintendo dominated this generation. So, where does that leave us? Well, not with a whole lot in all honesty. There's the unreleased by Sega Electronics Congo Bongo 2 that never got past that design stage again, probably because Tom, the game designer, and Jeff, the CEO at the time, had differing opinions on where the game should be set. Jeff wanted it in a lost jungle with prehistoric creatures, and Tom wanted it to take place on theme park rides. Okay. The only final entry in the series was actually released on the later Sega Ages PlayStation 2 games in 2005 called Volume 23 Sega Memorial Selection. The games included were Doki Doki Penguin Land, Borderline, Tranquilizer Gun, Head On, and obviously Congo Bongo. This game is pretty much a perfect sequel, I suppose. It's sort of like a good mobile phone game or one of those well-made flash games. Come on guys, what do you actually want me to say here? There, just look at the screen. You can see what it's like. It controls fine, it looks fine, and is surely everything you would want from a very basic arcade game that came out 20 years earlier. Which, by the way, is also on the disc, so, you know, if you want the complete collection, go get that. Congo Bongo. Will we ever see another game in the series? Nah. But we don't need it. I'm not even 100% sure why we needed this, but hey, that's just the way it goes. So yeah, there you go. Believed by many to be designed to take on Nintendo's best and even Sega's own published games at the time, resulting in a game that definitely achieves those goals somewhat in the gameplay arena in my opinion, becoming something different enough to stand on its own two hairy feet, but sadly not different enough to outshine the competition, which ultimately left it becoming a forgotten treasure in Sega's long line of distant IPs. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the complete history of Congo Bongo. Wait. Oh man, I totally should have called the video that. Hey there guys, thanks for checking out the video, and I want to give a big special shout out, obviously to all of my Patreons, but a special shout out goes to June, Rob Jenkins, The Geeky Dad, Rob Carter aka Fantastic Dizzy, Dunder Control, Todd Paul Float G, Petty Mew, Brian Warson, Garzagors, Yesielski, Samuel Victor, Red the Beard, John Fuller, Michael, Conrad Constantine, Pretendo 64, Mike Fallon, Retro to Next Gen, Zane Powers, Gavin Bongo, Creamy Elephant, James Loveridge, Casey Garner, Blitz, Hedgie, Ben Hall, Gemma at Mr. T-Shirts, Andrew Dalton, Joe Lazares, Ian A. Chapman, Phil Lowlins, Brent Craft, Gary Pinkett, and of course, Ryan Burford. If you want to be part of this list, get your name shouted out, get your name shown, come and see what I'm working on, see videos like this early, be part of those exclusive rooms in my Discord chat, be part of Let's Play competitions, see exclusive commentaries, and even upcoming Discord quizzes, then please click the link that you see on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, whatever you prefer. But for now, this is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.